Dear students, in this session, we are going to learn about the nation building and natural identity. Do you know how old is independent India? Independent India is over 64 years old. It is not a short or long time for which a nation building process has been initialized. Why is it important to learn about nation building? The great nation India has evolved as a successful nation since independence. The greatest success of India lies with the federal, secular and its multi-party political system. Can you guess how many general elections have taken place since independence? 15 general elections have taken place since independence. All of them have been fair and mostly peaceful. There's a saying that any truism about India can be immediately contradicted by another truism about India. Our country's national motto, Satyameva Jayate, which means truth alone triumphs, is what every Indian keeps in his mind. But having a look at the present society, it is hard to say this phrase holds a ground. I believe India can build a strong nation by preserving the country's diversity and our democratic values and tradition. So students, let's together now learn about nation building and identity. This short video will guide you to learn about the vast nation building strategies of our country. Nation building. Now tell me what this term means. What do you think is needed to build a nation? Well, does anybody have an idea what this term actually refers to? Let me tell you, nation building refers to the process of building up a national identity using the power of the state. The aim is to unify the people within the state so that it remains politically strong in the long run. The use of propaganda or major infrastructure development is needed to strengthen social harmony and economic growth. We need to protect and safeguard the future identity and independence of the nation by improving behavior, values, language, institutions and physical structures that describe our history and culture and protect the present. Do you know what nation building comprises of? Nation building also includes the creation of national symbols such as flags, anthems, stadiums, national airlines, languages, etc. National identity also needs to be protected by bringing together various ethnic groups or communities into a country, because in many newly established states, the British policy of divide and rule had created many ethnic categories of population. Now tell me the difference between the term nation building and state building. You know, both these terms are used intermittently. Both these terms have fairly different connotations in political science. Nation building refers to a national identity. A state building refers to the infrastructure and institutions of the state. There were two different schools of thought on state building. The first school, made more prominent by the media, shows state building as an intrusion by foreign countries. The second school of thought, which is more widely accepted by international academic institutions, portrays state building as an indigenous process. Now, nation building as a term is used in an entirely new context, as it is used of armed force in the conclusion of a conflict to ensure a smooth transition to democracy. Here, nation building refers to deliberate efforts by a foreign power to install the institutions of a national government according to a more familiar model prevalent in the foreign power. Therefore, state building comprises massive investment, military occupation, changeable government and the use of media to propagate government policy. Now let's learn how to meet the target of nation building. In spite of all these stupendous achievements, we have a long way to go in certain other areas. We must all join hands and stand together to overcome these challenges. First, we have to modernize administration with the introduction of the new information and communication technology. Second, Today, one notices a certain cynicism towards parliamentary institutions and erosion in the respect for normal parliamentary processes and the parliamentarians. Third, the country today faces one of the biggest challenges of having become place about corruption in high places, both political and bureaucratic. Fourth, the wealth generated from globalization should be distributed and reach all legitimate recipients. Fifth, on the social front, the secular fabric of India needs to be strengthened, especially at a time when religious minorities and their institutions are coming under attack. Sixth, we have to ensure a pattern of development that is consistent with the preservation of environment, which will ultimately lead to sustainable development. And finally, India has miles to go in improving human development indicators. Without investment in human capital, investment in every other form of capital fails to yield optimal results. Human capital is the link with the future and so is central to growth and development and also the very heart of the typical modern economy. Nation, state and society. Now we shall discuss politics in modern times. When we talk about the state, the nation and the society with reference to Western European experience, the three terms seem to be interconnected. This is not the situation in other places. So, it is essential that we define these terms. State is a political association characterized by territorial jurisdiction, non-voluntary membership and set of values which define the right of its members and claims to legitimacy of power over its members. The member of a state is usually known as a citizen. Nation refers to a group of people who have developed solidarity on the basis of common cultural identity, religion, language and state, etc. Do you know what the national identity of any group depends on? Yes, you are right. It is based on a number of criteria such as the place of residence, ethnic origin, culture, religion, language, etc. Society is a social organization which includes a large number of social institutions like kinship, family, economy and policy. What do you understand by the term society? The term society refers to social relations who are interdependent. When people interact with each other, social relationships are formed. Society as a general term may also include the state or the nation. It can also be interconnected with either or both of them. Can you give me an example of such an interconnected society? Yes, the Germanic society, which comprises of German-speaking people of East Germany, West Germany, Austria, Italy, etc. Similarly, Hindu society may also include the citizens of Nepal, India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. The state also may include a number of societies. Can you give me an example? Yes, the Indian state includes diverse societies based on religion, region or language. The tribal societies such as the Bhi, the Gond or the Nagas also form an integral part of Indian society. India is a big country with a large population. Do you know the population of India? It is 64 crores. Those between the ages of 15 to 35 form more than 50% of the total population. For our purposes, we count them all as the youth. These comprise students, employees, workers, farmers and persons from various professions including the unemployed, educated or otherwise. They are energetic, enthusiastic and full of zeal. These young people constitute a large force. The task of nation building is enormous and can be divided into many phases and compartments. It has some work for everybody. All the young people may be involved in this work. They may be assigned jobs according to their capacity and capability. First of all, they should be made to understand a specific project and its importance to the society and also the part they are expected to play to make it a success. They are sure to work hard for its fulfillment. They have the resources, guts and imagination to explain it to the people in detail and make it a success. They will feel more than satisfied by the realization that they have been assigned a role in the nation building efforts. This realization will encourage them to put their best into it. Trace and rise of Indian nation state. Now we will discuss the emergence of the Indian nation state. What is a nation state? A nation state is a state organized for governing a nation or two or more closely related nations. India can also be called a nation state whose territory is marked by national boundaries and its law is determined by national customs. India can be considered as a nation state as there are separate governments running the states and there exists a clearly defined relationship between central and state governments. The historical experience of nation building has influenced Indian national politics. This is marked by efforts to bring together a large number of social groups in a common national identity. We shall now look into the situation in India before 1858. There was a relative absence of the idea of nation during this period. India was characterized by a large number of small and large political units. The Mauryas, the Guptas, the Cholas and the Pandyas ruled during this period, but India was never politically united under any rule. We had no nation state until the British established their supremacy in India. In spite not having a politically unified territory, many factors combined to give the country an identity of oneness. The religious beliefs, practices and institutions provide the people a unifying force. Can you give me an example of this unity? Yes, one person responsible for all this was Adi Shankaracharya, who set up 4 seats of religious authority in 4 corners of India. This consciousness, however, did not get translated into the political domain, and so we had no national identity in the sense in which we talk of it today. Growth of nationalism in India. Now let us learn about the growth of nationalism in India. The establishment of the British also started a process of our liberation, even though it enslaved us. The growth of nationalism can be seen in the efforts made by our leaders for ending the British rule from our country. Can you tell me the 2 factors which helped in the emergence of Indian nationalism? Yes, one factor was the presence of a common enemy, the British. And what was the other factor? I shall tell you the existence of a common cultural identity which helped in the unification of India as one nation. The various struggles, violent, non-violent, constitutional and other uprising by the tribal against the British further helped to unify the diverse groups in India. The process of national building was not complete even after attaining independence. It is a continuing process and is reflected in the nature of politics. Challenges in nation building efforts. There are a host of factors which have disrupted our efforts to achieve goals of equality and social justice as well as building a nation state. We shall look into 3 main forces, namely the diversity of groups which constitute Indian society, regional and cultural identities, and casteism. We shall first look into the diversity of groups. The first potential threat to the Indian nation comes from this factor. The Indian society was and is divided in terms of religion, caste, language and ethnic origin. One of the most serious challenges that Indian leaders face even now is how to assimilate the interests of these diverse groups. Attempts to control confrontations between conflicting groups do not always succeed. Regional and cultural identities. The next factor we shall look into is the threat from regionalism. National politics in our country is still influenced by regional nationalities. Formation of statehood on linguistic basis was quite apparent. This is also evident in the demands made by the Gorkhas for Gorkhaland, some tribals for a separate Jharkhand state in November 2000. The government of India has also conceded to similar demands for a separate state. But this does not mean that regional identities should not be given importance. The politics of reconciliation helps to bring the diverse interests of various groups within a national framework. Another factor is the demand for reorganization of states and the assertion by religious minorities of their right to regulate the lives of their members. Do you know the national level politics has recognized the existence of regional and cultural identities and central government has given legal sanctions? The Constitution of India has recognized 15 national languages till 1992. In 2003, there were 18 national languages included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. It allows each state to carry out its administration in the regional language. Protection of the rights of minorities is a major gain for the nation. This helps to bind the nation state together and forges a political unity. Third factor is casteism. Let's have a look upon the issue of casteism. Well, the issue of casteism has been a talk over and over by a number of people, scholars and laymen alike. Caste is sometimes a mechanism of bringing people together. Can you imagine caste is used as an instrument for successful democratic state? Do you know some of the political parties in India are formed on the basis of caste? Is caste system evil? How? Well, caste system is considered social evil. It does not go well with the ideal model of society. This factor possesses a challenge to nation building. Even though people are in unity, caste plays a distinguished role in Indian national politics. These are the factors that challenge nation building. From this, we can understand nation building is not an easy task. National integration. Do you know what national integration is? Well, national integration is a process of developing different parts of national social system into a whole integrated one. In an integrated society, high degree of social acceptance is given to social institutions, society and values. Do you know what are the factors that threaten the ideal of national integration? They are linguism, communalism, social inequalities and regional disparities. Now, let us learn about the factors one by one. Now, let us see the first factor, that is linguism. Do you know how many languages are there in India? You will be amazed to know there are about 179 languages, and each language has its own different dialects and diversities. As you may be aware, there are many riots and conflicts over the language issue. People of one language try to establish dominancy over the other language. Is linguism a challenge for Indian democracy? Yes, it is. No solution has ever been found for this problem. Each state or region wants their language to be the official language. We already know that India is a multilingualistic country. Language is a part of our tradition and culture. In India, we have to deal with some language problems. This is because not every Indian has one language in common, and we have a foreign language as our official language. You may be also aware that there was a decision to make Hindi our official language. Still, discussions are going on regarding this, but during the consideration, the South Indian people protested against this. They supported English to be their official language. Is it justified to make English our official language? After all, English is a foreign language. But since we have vast linguistic diversity, we are not able to choose a common official language. To tackle with this language problem, the Government of India adopted two measures. One was the three-language formula and the other was the Official Language Act. By using this, we will be able to make a change in our official language, that is to Hindi. Language is sometimes considered as a barrier in the way of national integration. And the second factor is communalism. Let's have a look at the word communalism. You all might be aware of this term. Communalism is an act of religious groups by exerting or dominating other groups to maximize their political, social and economic strength. As we already know that India is called secular state, but the act of communalism is a counterpart to this notion. For example, secular state means coexistence of all religious groups in a peaceful manner. So, if one group tries to dominate the other group, it is against secularism. We have to treat all of them equally. But then too, very often we hear news about communal or religious riots. Even though the Indian nation has been successfully built, still we can't move away from communal clashes. The third factor is social inequality. Every society, as we all know, there is a system of social stratification. Now, what does social stratification mean? It means inequality in terms of unequal distribution of duties, services, wealth, etc. In India, the main example of social stratification is caste system. And the fourth factor is regional disparities. The unequal development of various parts of India has adversely affected the character of national integration. Can you point out a threat to concept of United Nations state? The major threat is regional disparities in terms of socio-economic development. In this session, we have discussed the various aspects of nation building and described the aspects of it. We had a look at the concepts like state, nation and society. We had also briefly traded the emergence of Indian nation state. We had a brief outline about the strategies adopted to build up a nation. In the fourth section, we also had learned the forces which have challenged the nation building task. And in the last topic, we outlined the issues affecting the national integration, which is also regarded as a process of building up a nation. To conclude, we can say that 21st century India should be economically prosperous, socially cohesive and politically strong and stable, culturally rich and scientifically advanced. To build our India as a great nation, we need to work together. Every India should think of India first. Every Indian should think of India first and work to make India first. Hope this session has brought to you a clear picture about nation building and national identity. Hope you had an interesting session.